I put a few people on the spot, sorry. But I asked them, what is Web3? What's your definition of Web3?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that, Sam, and obviously thank you to the City Club for allowing us to do this event. I think Web3 really is the next iteration of peer-to-peer interaction, and that's in my mind where you think about terms like crypto social, the blockchain. That is only a digital technology that allows us to become closer together in a peer-to-peer environment. So what I notice happening is that as much as we become connected in the digital space over, let's say, a Discord or Facebook group or whatever channels currently exist, people want more tailored experiences that define who they are more uniquely to others in a real-time fashion and with speed. So if I want to understand what your personality traits are, what's important to you, where you've been in your life, where you like to travel, what you like to eat, what you like to do. The digital world allows us to show those specific traits and attributes very, very quickly in real time to others through visual representation. So if you actually want to pull this up, I think we have on here, something that Omega Games is working on is Web3 transformation specifically for companies that want to develop membership or club level passes. And this is a way for people to organize themselves and commune together with specific interests. So if you think about it, we're all here tonight because we're part of the Triba community. Well, what if there was a way you could find other Triba community members quickly in real time at real live events around the world? And you could use visual representations. So similarly, that's like something we're piloting and showing you, hey, this is a way you could do this in the gaming world. I mean, there's been things like Xbox Live and Gold Passes, etc. But how does that bring you together with others? Well, on the Omega Games Discord, you can go into those specific channels. They're gated, so you know that those people have made a decision to be more socially aligned with you in whatever those specific interests are. And I think that's why our partnership with Triba is so unique, is because Triba is looking to do that and help you better identify your interests, your needs, and your social communities around these visual representations. So there's so much implementation to that, but that's what Web3 really is to me, is actually bringing people closer together by better utilizing technology to make connections in a digital space.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. A lot of people out there probably wondering what the heck Discord is. Yeah.
I still don't
jumped
know
into it too fast. I'm gonna go back to the beginning. So I think what John and what I we're trying to communicate is that Web3 is about authenticity and connecting with people on a human level. We're kind of going back to the basics. Like we came up with a way to connect all these dots with Web1, whole network of little nodes that were server-based storage units, and we would communicate across those. Then we had Web2. We had a lot of social media. We had engagement in video form, and we had people posting images, mostly images based. And then we come to a Web3 world where it's actually entering a space. So no longer are you just going to check a feed of an algorithm choosing what you get to see, but you go check the channels and you go to the places where you're going to get the best information. So what I did with Triba is we built this space on Discord. And if you've heard about Microsoft trying to acquire them, it's a gaming app that's pivoting since the pandemic towards live communication. And more businesses are joining it because it's like Teams and Twitter and Slack all combined. It's a much better way to interact with people in parallel. You get to interact with your community and your team internally. And if you're marketing or you're developing your business, there's no better way to do it than in parallel with your community. Because you develop a product for your customer. It has to solve a need. It has to be there for a reason. And the best games, the best development happens when you get fast iteration, agile iteration on these based on community feedback. So betas, alphas, giving people pre-releases of a game or an app to test it out. That's all done through Discord. And any good Web3 business will have a Discord because they know that. So what Triba did was it tried to bring the whole the business mindset thinking into a gaming community. We were one of the first business Discords if you search for business Discord on Google, it pops up. And it just happened to be that we were there when there was a need for this in the Discord communities. So now we're just connecting people around the world through these networks of communities. And they're physical places. Instead of letting the Facebook feed or your LinkedIn feed choose what you're going to see, people go and follow or subscribe basically by turning notifications on for certain feeds. And then we have, an investing and marketing Discord, and there's thousands of people all working together. And the cool thing is, it's kind of like this event where, you might have bumped shoulders with a CEO or a founder. That happens in Discord as well, surprisingly, because you'll have people in these calls that are virtual rooms. It's like a space where you can hang out and just be there. Maybe it's co-working, maybe it's a Q&A or an AMA session or a live podcast. We do a lot of live podcasting. That's probably my favorite, is you get to pick someone's brain and then the community gets to chip in. Like, I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear your questions. And that's my favorite part. Like, y'all make this what it is. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for y'all. Yes, I started Triba, but it really was a collaborative effort. And that's what we're all about, is helping each other get from point A to point B. However that is, we have weekly masterminds where we all collaborate and try to figure out how to solve problems. And the big main point of this all is coming back to connecting humans, authenticity. And that is what Omega Games is also trying to do. I've talked with John. I've gotten to know him over the past months, and he is really, truly about bringing this connection and connectivity to the Web3 space. And I think the Discord is just the bridge. It's just a platform. The people, Triba, is what makes this unique. There's thousands, millions of Discords probably, but Triba is the only business Web3 dedicated Discord that's bringing people like you guys together, and we hope to bring Web3 to Raleigh in a totally new way, right? Right? Can I get a round of applause?
Yeah, I would love to take some questions from y'all in terms of, this space is so new and so cutting edge. I look at it as, when, a good story I always tell is, years ago in 2007 when I think Twitter was founded in 2007, my dad was trying to figure out what it was, and was like, what's that? People tweeting and Twitters and these things and all that. And then I come in a couple weeks ago, and he's sitting on the couch arguing with other people, completely locked in with his headphones, listening to YouTube videos, taking quotes out, and literally going back and forth with other people his age. He's 66 on Twitter. And you're going to see that in the next 10 years. Now you're about 10, 15 years ahead when these cutting edge platforms that we're creating communities now become the stable place where people are going to interact. And Discord, and even what we're doing with enhancing the gaming community for players, the whole idea is to highly tailor the experience. So one thing that we're super focused on is better behavioral engagement for players. That's critical, at least on the Omega Games side. And it's the same thing in any business community. But when you think about it, when you walk into a space, you have so much technology available to you. I mean, my vision and dream is you can walk into a specific location, all the smart devices that are specifically tailored to that space can turn on and serve you the best experience that you could possibly have, knowing all of your preferences. And then everybody says, what's the number one challenge? Security, and someone else being able to hack into that. The blockchain solves that, because smart contracts are only accessible to whoever has that access key. Now, if you give your keys away, you're stupid. But if you maintain control of that, basically that IP that's minted in that blockchain, you can control all of those behavioral preferences and better tailor your experience of the world to yourself and to others. And then, like we're talking about, find other individuals that are highly, highly interested in what you're interested in. So I gave a presentation to an agency a couple months ago, and I just used the beekeeper analogy. You can go on Facebook and find a beekeeper group, and maybe there is one probably, I looked it up. And if you want to go out on Saturdays, you can go do beekeeping, field trips and whatever. And that's great. What if you could also then find those people in real time with push notifications? You could be more accessible to each other. You could find out that the beekeeping community also loves these other communities and watches these movies and things. And now you're taking digital tools and enhancing your environment in a way that makes really our lives better. And we use technology in ways that can enhance our experience. And what we're doing with Omega Games is implementing the Web3 and the blockchain in some traditional gaming, I would say, aspects. Because I can't go into all of it because Lindsay and Brad over there, and they would tell me that I can't talk about that anymore. But and there are some of Lindsay and Brad are just amazing. They're the best lawyers I've ever interacted with. So that's a shout out there. But basically the idea would be that you can take some of the current experiences we have in gaming in very 2D analog systems, and I always refer to analog as human, it's peer-to-peer, and how do we take that and use digital tools to enhance that experience? And that's what we're focused on, and I think that connects to how Triba is doing that just with existing digital tools. So I'd love to hear some questions. I know Sam and I would love to answer them. You want to turn it over to the crowd?
Yeah, we can. Anybody have questions?
Sure, we can pass the mic too.
If not,
Nobody has any questions. Oh, we got one. Oh, Moish. Oh, I can't see. I can't see.
Evan.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah,
Evan.
right?
Hey, nice memory. I don't even have a name tag. You remember the name. I'll try to project so I don't need the mic. Your story about your dad who's 66, that resonates a lot. Do you think there's anything, will Web3 or Web3 gaming specifically, do you see it sort of a linear adoption, or do you think there's anything that could be like a precipitating event? And looking in the crystal ball, that's tough, but are there maybe a few things that you think like this will happen and then adoption will
I'll
explode?
let you start, and now I'm going to respond.
Friction, friction is the main thing. So my dad's on Discord too. I think he's 66, 65, and he's on. We have a family Discord. My wife posts pictures on Discord, and it's really more about having a storage place. Like, we've all used Google Drive. We've all used Google Documents and collaborated with people on there. That's kind of the core concepts behind this. Like, if you think about blockchain and iterations on people adding to, it's an evolution of some idea or digital identity. So it's like that digital asset is transforming over time, just like your Google Doc changes as you add to it. So there's applications like Figma that not a lot of people know about, but are changing the way people do design work. Remote work is now like transforming how the industries operate. Because people are able to collaborate in a totally new way, and that's what Omega Games is trying to show. Like, hey, we can do this in a community and collaborate. Like, so I really want to ask you actually, what is Omega Games doing to benefit the Web3 communities and local communities?
sure. Sorry, not to skip over his question.
No, that's great, and I think I can link both these together. So you asked initially, do I think it's linear, or do you think there will be a precipitous event? And I will go back to 2 events in history, and I think that there will be something like this. So there was, unfortunately, I think it was about 10 years ago, there were some mass shooting events, and not to comment on that, but Twitter was used actively to get information faster to people than they could get it on their television screens about specific events that were occurring across the country. That's when people realized, hey, Twitter is more powerful than my own news network. And that's when, I think in 2008, 2009, you started to see that regular news networks were starting to actually give captions to people that were taking Twitter photos and saying we have to ascribe that. That's when that then was that precipitation event. My point to that is, similarly to how you had cell phones and iPhones being able to actually take movies in 2007, that's when the mass adoption of the smartphone occurred. What usually leads to that is I see it more as a bell curve, right, where you have a lot of technology that's put into place, and then all of a sudden a general mass event will occur. It could be with somebody sharing a cat video on YouTube in like 2004, and then all of a sudden people are like, hey, have you seen this? I can do the same thing. And then it starts to filter out into people who are not necessarily tech savvy. Now, going back to what you're talking about, so do I think that will happen? Yes. I'm not certain what that will be, but it's similar to like even when you had TV first introduced, kind of in the Kennedy first election, and then Nixon, and like you started to see, well, this technology is getting to a point where it's now becoming broadly and remotely accessible. And that's important, broad and remote, so people can use it specifically, but everyone's able to access it at the same time. The challenge, I think, that communities like Discord and even gaming has right now is we're dealing with closed systems. So Xbox and PlayStation have their own servers and their own closed systems that they're dealing with. So if you're not an Xbox user or even a PC gamer or even a PlayStation user or Twitch or whatever, you're locked within that community. What I'm looking to do with Omega Games, what we're looking to do, and I think what Sam's vision is as well, is to break that barrier. Discord and any of these other social platforms there's going to be 18 Discords in the next 100 years. It doesn't matter. That's just the way they are. There's going to be no dominant.
It's probably true. Discord, if I can say, Discord's doing it better than I think anyone.
Sure.
Right now.
And they'll always
Maybe
yeah.
There's going to be iterations on that, but I think
Well, there'll be a Discord VR implementation that we don't even know how that's going to be. There might be a Discord bot that's VR that's walking around this room handing out things.
But Discord crosses the bridge between platforms and
Sure.
Web 2 and Web 3.
Yes.
So it's kind of Web 2 because you get to be in Zoom calls, you get to be in meetings basically with people. But it's Web 3 in the sense that it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, it's on
Yes.
Mac, Apple,
Yes.
wherever you are. Yeah, same thing.
Well, it's like you're saying, it's breaking down those barriers.
Yeah, that's what.
And I think what we're trying to focus on to answer your question is gamers right now are focused, if they play a certain game or they play within a play system, they're locked. They can't take those items and go to another game. They can't create a lot. I mean, Fortnite's doing a great job and starting to create skins and stuff like that and create a marketplace and community, but you're still within that system. You still have to buy all their gear and everything like that. Well, what if it was just whatever you had and you were only limited by your own creativity? We're providing a story, a lore, a place for players to say, yeah, if you want to do the Space Pirates, that's the Space Pirates Lounge, similar to Discord, but you'll also be able to play within there and create within there and then find community in there. But maybe you could take that same piece of technology that you have or that same item and go move it across the ecosystem. That's what the blockchain allows you to do, is that cross-dimensional application for really whatever your creativity leads you to do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, blockchain's given us these massive platforms to do stuff like that. So you can connect it to this decentralized network and cross over. Although I think there's a lot of barriers for that. I mean, we're still working on how do you adopt something across multiple games, because each game has its own unique style, and that'll be a journey in itself. But I think Discord's got that element of serendipity to it, where you just run into people. It's like being in a big, massive city, and you get to walk between the different offices and buildings. You just run into people in voice chats. It's like permanent places. And that element of crossing over, like you can share with other people, and it's not going to harm you. A lot of these games, like Epic, think they need to be like walled off. It's just us. Let's buy up everything else. Let's be our own ecosystem. That's all fine, but I think the future of all this, and we've seen this in a lot of different games that have gone this direction, is opening it up to collaboration with other communities, cross-pollinating across multiple different communities. That's what I think Discord enables. You can link up and follow people's channels. You can hop in and join other people's conversations. It's very open and authentic. You just get to know people. You can't be hidden on Discord and stand out. You have to be open with people. It's hard to fake it. Which, I mean, you guys get that. You're in person. You're here. Like, you can't fake just being here. And a lot of people try to fake it on the internet, but Discord kind of takes us back to the fundamentals. Like, let's see each other, video, voice. Next step is obviously VR. We're going to all be in the metaverse, but Discord's that bridge. So it's like, why not take advantage of that with gaming, with these, and then we're going to link up. They're already added in a crypto integration this past month. I live, breathe, eat, speak Discord. So whenever they do stuff like this, and now they have you can link your NFT collection and on OpenSea and basically give people special access. The coolest thing about it is the roles and tags. Everybody who's from Triba has their own unique tags, like their marketing or design or engineer or programmer. But that's how you connect with people. Like, our name tags are a tool for us to get to know each other better. Like, Evan doesn't have it. I could just as easily forget Evan, but like for some reason it's stuck in my mind even more now. But that being said, like, if you have a digital identity on the blockchain or on Discord or wherever you have it, you want to link everything together and give people the most frictionless path. Because like you said, like, older people using these tools aren't as familiar with all the tech and overwhelmed with some of the stimuli. But if we can increase the education and reduce the friction, I think that'll be the jump forward when it'll start to be exponential.
Yeah.
Because they'll share it with each other.
Yeah.
But it's more of like, right now, my dad getting into Discord was really tough. It's tough. There's a lot. I mean, even John struggles with it. I'm trying to help him.
True.
Yeah. But great tool, amazing tool. Discord.
Questions? Another question? You want the mic?
I can speak loudly.
Okay.
Is your name Mike?
Yes.
Yes. Mike does not need the mic.
They've been talking about this mic all night.
So, not to be like a party pooper with this question, but
You can ask about crypto.
I'm not going to give
no,
you
I
any
was
advice.
gonna. So, I'm very into crypto. I believe in blockchain and the future of the technology. Like, really believe in it. Really love it. Do you guys think that it faces some sort of existential risk that could crypto and that could then translate to Web3 as a whole, or NFTs as related to gaming, or anything that we're talking about here?
An existential crisis.
I think,
I can give an example of what existential crisis.
No, I mean,
I think you and I have definitely talked about it. I think that this is, I think there is, so I liken this to, like I said, I like to look at historical examples. And when IBM introduced email, I think it was IBM, or it was one of those big campus guys, in like the early 80s, late 70s. They were using a parcel post system inside of their campuses, and you would drop a letter on a cart, it would come by, and then it would go to wherever it was going to go, and then you knew it was going to get sorted by their internal mail department. Well, initially email was clunky, it was hard to use, it was difficult to get people associated with it, you had to open up a browser, people didn't understand what that meant, and they had to use these internal systems. So they were like, well, I could just literally handwrite the letter and put it in the tray, and it just goes where it goes, and I get the answer back the next day. Well, what they did was they did an entire study on behavioral analysis, taking a look at why email was not being adopted. And they found that you have to have these milestone individuals, or you have to have, let's say, people who are going to take these ideas forward that are not it does not come from the top down. It has to come from the bottom up. It has to come from the implementers that are actually on the ground using the technology the most, or that need the technology the most.
early adopters.
Yeah, even I would say beyond early adopters, the ones that it affects the most. Now, I'll give you a stat. 53% of individuals in South America have done at least one crypto payment at some point for a good or service that is actually something real, meaning food or clothing or shelter or something in South America. This is below 7% in the United States of America of anyone that's done any crypto transaction, including investments. Now you ask yourself, does that seem to make sense? We seem to be very tech savvy in this country, but South America is doing more crypto transactions for local goods and services. Why? Because it affects them the most. And it's actually the most easy, simple way to transfer goods and services with a representation value in that community. And this is, it fascinates me. So I said, okay, the existential crisis per se comes not from the top down, but it comes from adoption from individuals who need it most. I believe crypto represents the ability to move more efficiently and fluidly through your communities in so many different ways. Therefore, the adoption will come when lower income and underserved communities realize the value of the speed, the access, and the ability to transfer ideas and information more efficiently and quickly, and that becomes massively adopted, then the entire system will change because there'll be no other way to do it. And so I think when you talk about an existential crisis, it's an existential crisis with the top of the 1% of the communities of the world, the top 10% or top 40%, really over 52% that have not done that transaction here in the United States, unlike South America, who are struggling to understand why we should change if something works well. But that doesn't mean it can't work better or more efficiently. And I think that's where you come when you find that your systems are broken, you look for solutions. Right now, the reason why crypto has no mass adoption in the United States or Europe or any other of these places is because we are pretty okay with just using a Visa card. That chip tap thing is pretty good, right? We don't really care how the digits get transferred. But it's when that system doesn't work well, and that's why you'll find, like in gaming or with community development, like what Sam is doing, we're saying this doesn't work well, this is why we want to implement this. And that's when it will start to change. So I don't know if that's 100% answer to the question, but that's what I'm seeing the trends and where it will come to that precipitation event. is when the system is broken, people will look for an answer. And it's going to probably happen in countries outside of the United States, in my opinion, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Existential crisis. I think crypto is having an existential crisis. To be honest, I think we're redefining it. I think people are realizing it doesn't mean, or Web3. I should say Web3 is having an existential crisis because people were defining it as crypto, whereas VR. It's so much more than that. It's connectivity. So I think maybe we are having a little bit of an existential crisis, but like you said, it's the early adopters. I think I saw a statistic that only 18% of adult Americans, or maybe it was just adult males. I don't know why they just do studies on adult males.
Because they're trying to figure this out.
I guess they're trying to figure this out. Women are definitely more complicated. Anyways, I won't get into that. Only 18% have actually even tried crypto or gotten into it. So that still leaves 20%. I mean, there's 10% of men are colorblind, so it'd be like a little bit more than that, but all the colorblind guys have tried it, but no one else. I'm colorblind, so it's actually pretty rare. I just feel like that's a good analogy for, it's most people don't have the vision that you have. You're here, even if you don't know a lot, you're here. So I want to communicate to you that it's really just about doing this, but online too. So whether it's a project you're working on or whatever, you're using crypto to make everything accessible, communities, Omega Games is doing awesome stuff. I think that's what it's about, and us talking about it and using the tools available, sharing the tools available. If you know something, bring it up, share it to Triba, share it on these platforms. I feel like I had so much I wanted to tell you all about Triba, but obviously you can check out at discord.gg/Triba.
That's right.
That's.
Do you want to do one or two more questions?
Yeah, anybody have a question?
Well, I'm just curious now, do you have any predictions as to what could lead to breaking the system that we currently use here in the U.S.? And if you do you have any idea of what time frame that could be? Just if you just want to throw something out there.
And how we can help break it?
I'll just say, it's probably happening more in South America and Africa because government regulation. If you decentralize and take away the government's ability to control it, I don't see the government doing that. It's going to be a while. Just like North Carolina is the last one to do any legalization stuff. America's that country. North Carolina is a state. America is a country. So it's going to be.
Well, I think legally I can't give you any predictive analysis, but I obviously I'm deeply in. Most of my experience comes from other people, which is something one of my business mentors told me. But I also like to look to history, and I think when you're talking about a mass adoption event, it usually let's take crypto as a concept. It's a medium of exchange. Exchange is only about what something is valued at, and somebody will buy this specific idea, good, or service. Crypto only serves as a lightning fast, highly secure, specifically peer-to-peer network that no third party can be involved in to make that transfer. That could be for an idea. I mean, people were tipping people in Dogecoin 3 years ago. Man, I wish I had been on Reddit more and just made really cool memes because I would have had millions of them, right? And it was only because this was a cool way to just tip somebody using this cryptocurrency. Because it was peer-to-peer, it went directly to them, and you were creating something that had minimal value, so nobody really thought a second of it, right? Well, okay, you take a look at that, and then you say, all right, who is the one who doesn't really get to put their hand on that? Well, any government in the world that operates on a commission or a tax-based incentive is not really going to like direct peer-to-peer communication devices, incentives, or cryptocurrencies. And cryptocurrency, I hate the word crypto. I think it's absolutely horrible that it's stuck. I don't know why. It's cryptographic medium of exchange, and that's why it's called crypto. But my dad, he always said, "Oh, it's just crypto stuff." And this was 5 years ago when I told him to buy more Bitcoin, and he was like, "This is crypto. It's crypto. It's like, ooh, it's dark." And it's like, you don't know its secret. You don't know who owns it. I'm like, no, you do, because you have your wallet keys. It's right there. You know how much of it you own. And the IRS doesn't. And I'm okay saying that. And I think in terms of predicting when something like that can happen, all throughout history, that people up to the end of the the fall of empires have thought things were going really great. And people through the fall of empires have done really, really great. I mean, I don't think that the infrastructure you have built in the United States is sustainable for 100 years, but I think you're probably not going to necessarily see a massive upheaval in your regular lifestyle beyond the fact that like Visa could go buy MoonPay tomorrow and just integrate all crypto payments as an additional medium of exchange. I think that that's probably highly likely that something like that will occur, and then that will just lead it to be assumed into the same system where, think about it, I mean, you're still getting a paycheck from whatever place of business that you do right now. You're going to still get that in whatever it is, US dollars, I doubt, but Gusto, if I really wanted to, can, and I think there's a way that they integrate with Coinbase, if I wanted to just take a percentage out and directly do it into cryptocurrency, they can do that. So there are already ways behind the paywall, but it's going to be hard to really change that long term. I think it's more important what we're doing, building communities, because we are on the cutting edge. And if there was ever an event that really changed the way we view the world and the way we interact with it, we would still be able to rely on that community.
The pandemic changed the world, as we know. And a lot of you probably are aware of this, but a whole generation got on Zoom who didn't know how to turn their computer on. So that was awesome. And now it's kind of like Discord's the next step. It's Zoom with permanence. Like nothing goes away, and I can see everything. No, there actually is some cracks too. But that being said, I think the direction we're going, I mean, if you want my real honest opinion, I think we're headed in the direction of a global economy. Like I think the US economy will be at a point, oh, Gabe's here. What's up? The US economy will be at a point where we can't outcompete the crypto global economy. And we'll end up with like one conglomerate. So like if you have Ethereum now or Bitcoin, whatever, I don't think it'll matter in the long run. There's going to be applications on all of it. It'll be kind of merged together, and the US dollar won't be able to compete, so they'll end up linking it somehow, and then you can still get your money into the US dollar. The value exchange is still there. Like we're all still working, or trying to make value, share value, and that's all a commodity or currency is a value exchange medium.
Yeah, I think we'll take maybe one more question or two if you guys are open. But I like what Musk said, and I don't really care what you think of him. I think he's got good and bad, pros and cons. But one thing I thought that he said that was absolutely brilliant was that in the new Web3 economy, it's only going to come down to the same principles that it's always come down to. What are you creating? Who are you creating it for? And is it something that they want to buy? It's still about you creating value in that space. So it doesn't matter how you get paid. It doesn't matter what system is used for that. It doesn't matter if it's more direct or peer-to-peer. I look at it as like, why did I want to create Omega Games? I wanted to do something to change and enhance the player experience for a very specific subset of games that we're working on. What I saw, there were challenges to players truly enhancing and developing their communities outside of the play system. And again, Lindsay and Brad are gone, but I still can't tell you everything that we're doing. But that's why I wanted to do it, because I saw a need, and I was like, let's do something to innovate in that space. So you got to ask yourself, what are you doing? How are you serving your communities? How are you changing what you're working on and finding something that people are struggling with and figuring out a way to change that? Yeah, if you want to pay me in Bitcoin, I'll take it all. I mean, I will take as much Bitcoin as you want to send me, personally, right now. You can go on my website, you can say support our projects as a Bitcoin address, literally. I'm so shameless. It's a shameless plug, but my idea is that, yeah, I'm okay with that risk. But it still comes down to the fact that if you're a creator and you want to change the world, find something that people are struggling with, and then figure out how to implement a piece of technology or even analog. I mean, look, if you're a great artist and you want to paint great paintings and you want to enhance someone's Saturday afternoon by them walking around a museum and seeing your artwork, that's just as valuable and important as developing things that like Musk has done with the Tesla batteries, etc. I mean, that's all part of enhancing the human experience. So, do you want to do one more question?
Yeah, is there another question? You got one right there?
Yeah.
So how can education, be used with the Web3 that's coming up?
Oh, great question.
Oh, that's a fantastic question.
Do you want to try? Discord.gg/Triba. So Triba is all about education and business. It's sharing and collaborating, kind of what he was talking about. The more you can take out the middleman in something and give it back to the people, the power back to the people, I think the more authentic it comes out, the clearer it comes out too. So we have programs in Triba that help you get into Discord. They help you get into business, into marketing and design. We have workshops set up specifically for those. We try to bring in students, and we have several like apprenticeship programs where you get to learn from very skilled professionals who are experts in their field that are actually just on Discord. Because it turns out if you're like an expert in your field, usually you're pretty tech savvy, and usually you found out about Discord. So there's a lot of crazy smart people in Triba who just love helping. We had a guy build an entire VR world on Unreal Engine in under a month. No, it was like under 2 weeks for clarifications, and just put all our art in this VR world. Like that's the kind of stuff you can learn, or learn how to build apps, or learn how to do marketing better. I teach a course on marketing. It's basically human on human. How do you do this but in VR? So that kind of stuff is education in Web3.
Absolutely, and I would say one of the number one things that I have noticed about the Web3 world that's emerging is specifically around education. I believe that we have become latent and very complacent as a culture in terms of accepting a lot of what comes at us. We have because of the problem of choice, right? We have so much information coming at us from so many different sources. It's almost impossible for us to make determined decisions about what truth is, what's important to us, what we need to have. I mean, I like this example, but it's like people, on the outside made fun of someone like Steve Jobs, or just poked fun at him because they always wore the same, T-shirt at every conference, everywhere, all the time, and he had 100 of them in one of his, closets. Well, why did he do that? Because it was one less choice he had to make that didn't impact whether he was going to change the world. It's a T-shirt. At the end of the day, you can go do the same thing somewhere in a jacket and whatever. So when you think about it, you're saying, well, I have all these choices coming at me. He's making an educated decision to actually focus his energy in something that's going to make a difference with implementation. And I look at it the same way, and I say, okay, well, in this Web3 space, education is like the primary component of how we change and we develop in our communities.
Right.
Because it's like you said, building something in Unreal Engine. I mean, I spend 12 hours on a weekend working in Blender, and all of a sudden was able to build all this really cool stuff. It's like I could have done something else with that, but if I was worried about what T-shirt I was going to wear, that wasn't going to help move forward any other things that I was doing. So the role of education in the Web3 space specifically, I think, is the proliferation of available truth for people to consume real media in real time. Now, obviously, I have an advertising agency, so we produce ads for numerous companies. Now, of course, I have certain standards that I work with different companies, but the idea is that in the Web3 world, people can make better and more informed decisions by making these sub-communities. And I love what you've done on Discord, because if you want to learn about marketing, you can click on marketing. If you want to learn about business. So even though you have all these people in one place, it's more user-friendly, and it's a more peer-to-peer environment where people are actually sharing real information. It's not an ad. When you go into a Discord community, it's a real-time ledger of having a conversation. You can jump in when you want to learn something. You can jump out. You can come back. You can share.
Clickbait.
Absolutely. It's about value. I don't think you can be a part of a Discord community unless you're actually providing value. You can be a viewer and observer, but once you jump in and start actually talking, you're going to be held to a higher standard by everyone in there, because they're going to be like, well, what are you sharing? How does that help the group move forward? And I think that is the role of education, is that in the Web3 space, being able to more efficiently find individuals that are open to what you have to say, that you can help people more efficiently and better with what you are, what your niche is. I think that's the role of education. So that's about the role of education. I think it's probably how the Web3 space was initially created, is we were figuring out how to do something better because we realized that the current systems of communication were broken.
Yeah, Web3 is just enabling us to do this in a totally new way without physical boundaries. You don't have to be within speaking distance of somebody to connect with them on a deeper level now. And education really is the fundamental for it. I mean, sharing knowledge, sharing information, If people love to be heard, and we say in Triba, you are heard. So even if you don't feel like you have something of value to contribute, I say if you know 10% more than the average person on a subject, there's people out there who want to hear what you have to say. And if you just want to listen, you're still participating because you're being the person who hears what someone else is saying. And the kicker is, it's wisdom when you take that and apply it to your life. And you go out in your business, you do something someone recommended, you see the change, hundreds of testimonials from people. That's how we're doing it in Web3. It's like, here's how it works, here's how it doesn't work. Very clear, very straightforward. So,
Any other questions?
any other questions on what this is? What's up? A lot of people here I recognize and I've never seen before in person. It's kind of crazy.
I have a small question.
Yeah. What's your name?
Do you have any concerns about Discord being a centralized medium for decentralized communities, essentially?
The people are what matter, so Discord's just the application. It could be a potential problem, but I think it would just, everyone would move over. I had a similar problem when I built the first business Discord on the Vortex, called Vortex for another company, design company, and it went south, like it became a problem because it was centralized power. So when I restarted it, I realized like Triba could be a decentralized community. We had Triba elders, and we realized that sounded a little cultish, so we ended up taking away the elders. We still have like a staff and we have a team who's dedicated to seeing this happen for free, volunteer. And it all goes forward because of the people powering it. Same thing with Discord. Like, it is a decentralized group. In a way, it's decentralized. If everyone stopped going to those communities, Discord would fall apart. And they would do that if Discord changed it in a way they didn't like. But that being said, Discord just continued to add features that are better and better and better. They added in events, built-in integration. I was working on a bot. I've built several bots with people on Discord. And then they made this events thing, and I was like, that solves the problem of knowing when and where to meet up. Mm-hmm. Now we can do that, and they just keep doing stuff like that. That's why I think it's the best tool for networking.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Sam specifically on Discord now, but I will go back to a point that I mentioned. I don't know if Discord as a company, what their longevity would be called that or whatever it is. I think there's going to be iterations rapidly in the next 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years of, will Facebook exist in 10 years? I actually personally don't think so. I don't know if they'll be called that. It may break up into smaller entities. Who knows? I think there's going to be a drive towards smaller and smaller and smaller interactive communities that specifically and hyper-focus on what's important to that individual and why they would engage with those specific communities. So, whether it's called Discord or whatever it is, the concepts that Sam is talking about won't change. And the way that he's building these communities won't change. That's the right way to develop that. It might happen on a different platform. Maybe Discord is around for 100 years. That's rare. In even business, it's very rare for companies to last that long. But there's iterations that will occur that every time we either see something rise and fall, we learn from that and we make better interactions with what we need to do next on the next platform. So I really personally don't care. Will Omega Games be here in 100 years? It'd be great. I doubt it. But that doesn't really matter to me because the legacy that we'll leave behind of how we enhance how players are specifically acting in these specific ecosystems, if we can make a change with that and we can show people how that works, then that might be something that has so many other iterations to it. And maybe we make our own, Discord one day that's got its own tech stack and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just technology, right? That's just code written onto some sort of, programming system that you can access. That visually will change drastically in the next 10 years with VR. It's going to be so different. I don't even think we can really imagine. I know if I can't imagine how cool it's going to be and how it's going to change, there are people out there that have probably already thought way beyond it and still don't know exactly what those iterations are going to be. Does that mean I'm like bullish or not bullish on Discord? To me, it doesn't really matter. I think we use the available technology to enhance and change the world as much as possible with what we can now. And then we continue to look for iterations that always make improvements. Again, better communication, better enhancement of community. Those are the things that, to me, are most important.
Mm-hmm. The friction matters, right? And we're working towards getting people integrated with Web3 who don't even know they're part of it yet. And I think a lot of you probably are in that boat. But I talked to somebody from Mozilla, and they're they're funded by a charity, this Mozilla Hubs team. They have like 20K in Discord, and they're building an integration that just takes VR rooms and puts them in Discord. So you can hop in Discord and then hop in a VR room, and it ports everything back and forth. And the cool thing about Discord is there's a whole ecosystem of applications using technology to simplify life. So like Evan was asking, the friction factor, how many people here are coders or have coded? Raise your hand if you've coded. Now, take your hand down if you have not used Discord. Wait, so leave your hand up if you're a coder. Okay, take your hand down if you've not used Discord. Did I see that right? Yeah, okay. So if you haven't used it, it's like layering applications like you would get from GitHub, and you'd layer different things on top of each other. Discord is like a whole ecosystem of bots and developers simplifying our life and our experiences. So it's not really like one single app like Facebook or Twitter. It's like you're logging into an ecosystem of apps, a whole bunch of solutions to your problems. And that's what Omega Games is doing, using the blockchain to simplify life, to make things easier to share. I think I like best the vision you have for being able to share assets in game. Like I got skins in CSGO and Fortnite and way back. They've been doing NFTs for a long time, essentially, not actually on blockchain, but integrating it with blockchain like they're doing allows for simplicity. So eventually we have the frictionless transfer of assets, and maybe even one coming. I don't know.
We can talk about this all day, so I don't want to keep you guys from drinking and having a good time and networking. And yes, I can say that because it's my event and whatever with Sam. So, do you guys have any other questions, or we can go back to networking? Anybody else? Mike.
I signed up for the Triba Discord while I was listening. Is there any limitations? I saw I couldn't post right away.
You have to verify.
Verify. Okay.
There should be a verification button that you can see if you're not.
Okay.
If not, message me and I'll check on there and see who's joined.
He does run the Discord.
We're very human on
I've
human,
got it
right?
in.
Everybody should get a meeting with one of the mods if you join. That's the whole point of Triba, is quality.
I got a meeting with him and I joined.
Thanks. Yeah, if you get one of my cards, come up to me, I'll give you a card you can schedule directly.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you to the City Club, of course. Really, I'm honored to be here with Sam. This is an amazing partnership. So thank you, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Happen, man.
You made this happen, John. This has been a dream of mine for a long time. Give it up for that. No, I could not be happier having the first in-person Triba meeting. And it's so cool to see some of the faces that I've seen on Discord and then video calls. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate everybody making the trip. If you're local, love to connect again, get coffee or something, and we'll see the rest of you on Triba too.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.